Hello hero, it's Lucy Lamorn. I'm going to tell you a little story just while I do some scribbling, which will soon become clear. I'm sort of looking into the distance while I do this, so if it looks a bit strange, just bear with. I've had a bit of a strange experience today, which is that I sat down to do a reading on a completely different subject, but related to the people in your life, with a different deck, and basically got incredible pain in my ears, in my throat, in my heart sort of going up to my throat centre. And the heart-throat link made me think, is this to do with the reading I'm about to do? Not to mention sort of a few disruptions to the Q is 4 reading that you may have watched. Highly recommend if you haven't, because it may well relate, particularly because of what I'm about to say. So I did the normal thing that I do, which is to take some painkillers and sort of make sure there's not any immediate issue, but also to go into vision and ask my own kind of guides, my own team, my own contacts, whether any of this is to do with my energy, people linked to me, people firing stuff at me, people who I have a very strong sort of telepathic bond with, a dream bond, who may or may not be aware of what they were firing, or whether it's to do with what I was about to relay to you. And guess what? I wouldn't be bringing it up if it was me, my dude. As you can see, there are letters that are going to come out of this, so they may help you to know who it is that I'm talking about, because my overall sense with this, oh dear, sorry, that's not aimed at you, I promise you, is that there is somebody who doesn't want some information to be relayed. Somebody in your life who possibly is having a hard time of it, or just trying to keep something from you in some way, and doesn't want, sorry, I'm sort of distracted doing two things at once, doesn't want me to pass on something, because I was going to ask. I'd actually had a plan for a reading, which, comment down below if you still want it, but I was going to do something multi-pile to the effect of, is this legit? Meaning like an offer, a person, a product, a piece of news, a narrative from somebody, just so that you could check in on a multi-pile and be like, this is or isn't true, and these are kind of the factors of why, right? Now what is that? I know that's something. Is it another F? There might be two Fs in this, guys. But yeah, so that's the reading that didn't happen, partly because I laid out all the different decks for that, including this one, and spilled coffee over them all once I'd finally kind of revealed what was going on health-wise. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, I feel like I am. X may mean that this is to do with an X for some of you, just so you're aware. Anything else? Do we have any other letters? I feel like that's a lowercase h, but if you feel like it looks like an N, then take an N. And we've got a capital A, very much so there, right. I think that's it, guys. So if any of those letters, F, X, M, O, F again, T, P, V, either N or lowercase h, U, J or A, stick out to you as sort of initials of anybody that you know, or spelling a word or something that, I mean, we've only got 2 vowels, so, no, 3 vowels. So I don't know what it could be spelling. Put it in the comments if you know. But if any of that leaps out as being relevant, this is your indicator as to what that whole mess was about. I am probably going to do that reading. Again, let me know if you do want to see it. But what I feel pulled to do instead, for kind of the same amount of time as I would spend on a multi-pile, is to just ask, what is being kept from you right now? If the person who doesn't want their intentions to be seen, for either good or bad reasons, we don't know yet, but if they were allowed to speak in your life, what kinds of things might they say? Now, bit of a warning in that we're using my DIY love deck. I say love like this, right? Because this is a 50-50 deck of nice messages and not so nice messages, because in life, sometimes we have the conversation about being utterly in love with someone and not being able to say it. And other times we have the conversation of, I ghosted you because I'm not attracted, etc., etc. So this is exactly split down the middle of these kinds of things. Also, if this is not a love situation, and I'm really not sure that it is yet, I don't know what's going on, guys. But if it isn't, then, you know, if any sexual messages or any romantic messages come up, know that this deck is to speak to me so that I can relay to you. It's not direct communication from the person in your life, unless I say it is, right? I know that sounds a bit iffy, a bit sus or whatever, but this is just how I use. Sometimes tarot and cartomancy isn't quite colloquial enough. Sometimes you want to use the kind of language that you would use with another person, and this helps me to do that, right? And it happens to be a love deck because more often than not, my private work is love readings. We're also going to use a Tarot of the Divine, which does depict folklore stuff, but we're not going to take completely... Ooh. Taylor Swift is relevant. We're not going to take 100% folkloric stuff today. Or what I mean is, sorry, I am rambling. I'm still being kind of obstructed here in a weird way. What I'm trying to get at is that sometimes when I'm reading with this deck, particularly for private clients, I will go card by card and sort of talk about the fairy tales or myths behind the imagery, because a lot of the time it's relevant. I feel like we may dip into that here, we may not, but I'm just kind of doing a precursor of who knows what we'll get, right? I've also, for no real reason, been tempted to pull this from behind my bed and do a bit of bibliomancy with it later. And there's also a copy of the Incal on my table, so we might use that. Who knows what may happen, because I had a plan, and life's what happens when you make plans, right? So I'm going to start with these, but again, if this is sort of speaking to somebody with the initial that you saw, and it seems like something direct they'd say and it's distressing to you or anything like that, please do be aware that these are for communication with me, not for communication with you, and all will become clear when we get actual tarot cards, okay? So this is not a their thoughts, feelings, next actions type reading at all. Please do not take it as that. Please don't assume what other people in your life are thinking unless that's the question you're coming to me with, right? This is just, there's something afoot here and I'm going to try and work it out. Part of the way is using these. Okay, that's enough disclaimer. Ooh. Is that... Okay, that was for me. Sorry, guys. If you didn't see it, grand. Okay, we're wanting this for... that's interesting. That is for you. Okay. For some of you, you see what I mean about communication. Also, blue calcite might be really useful. What was it said? So I started using blue calcite on myself when the throat pain started. This has been going on for hours, guys. I can't even tell you. This video may be delayed. I don't know if I've said that. I started using blue calcite and then I was like, you know what? I know I love blue calcite for this, but I'm going to look it up anyway because it's been a while since I've dipped into the technical meanings of why blue calcite for throat in a sort of electrical energy type way. And indeed what the, mineral composition of it is and all that sort of interesting stuff. And what it said under blue calcite in the second book that I used was something like good for communication, unblocking the throat chakra, communication, etc., particularly in situations of dissent. That was the word they used. So who knows, dissent may be in the title for this. Again, you know more about this reading than I do at this point. This pink one wants to come as well. Is it this one? Yeah, it was that one, wasn't it? And let's get one more. I'm told it's going to be green. Again, words. You have no power over me. I will absolutely speak whatever this reading is, whoever you are. Because the person watching needs to know. And I've got your back, bro. Right. Again, caution when you're reading these. And if it's not a love reading, that's okay too. Okay. Why do I feel like these are two different people? Or addressing two different people? Is that correct? Yeah, okay, right. Well, it turns out that at the same time as they're not telling you something, they are telling somebody else something, or they want to, or there's something going on there. Right, so I'm going to cover these with the cards that I choose. sorry, on camera shuffling. I know some of you don't like seeing it off camera because it makes you feel like it's been selected differently or something, which is fine. I'm all up for that. Why are you down here? Sorry guys, if it's your first time on the channel, it's not usually this chaotic, although I do have a process that sort of builds up in method, you know, I do use different things. But this really is one of those readings where it's sort of, because it's not my plan, I'm also not going to plan, and it's sort of brain scrambled me. I think that, I want to say that whoever is keeping something from you is somebody who uses word salad, i.e. the kind of, are you in? Yes. Are you there? Yeah. Word salad is just kind of when you construct a sentence that doesn't exactly make sense but seems like it contains all the right terminology so that you leave someone confused, baffled, kind of, what do I want to say? Word salad is used by certain types of personality to exert control over other people by using verbal obfuscation. It's a sort of, it's a way of seeming like you're getting to the point whilst actually dancing around the point so that someone doesn't know your true intentions. Okay? So that may be relevant. I'm sweating as well, and it's not warm in here, guys. There's something really weird going on with whoever this is. Let me just sit with these for a sec and read this top line. Okay. I'm going to start comparing them with these as well. Ah, I see. Okay, so this might be a love reading actually, but we won't guarantee it. It may be that this person's just involved at one end and then there's something going on. I just bent that card, and it's good cardstock, so it won't matter, but it's there's something here about bending versus breaking. I feel like the reason I'm not supposed to talk right now is because there's a situation where having a flexibility of communication for this person would have seemed like a cutting off or a breaking down of a situation. Whereas, again, the obfuscation of flexibility, this sort of word salad quality of the whole thing, even if it wasn't word salad, helps to give them the remaining option of sort of tapping back into something, or of still being able to manipulate somebody in future, or of potentially not getting caught for something or something like that. Sorry, I will get on. Firstly, I want to say that whoever this is, with the Page of Coins in reverse, there is an immature offer of something which has been retracted. So this could be a job offer. It could be, hey, let's move in together because of the sort of card. It could be just like a keen communication or a keen effort with someone that was made on a basis of somebody maybe not being the most emotionally immature at the time, or not the most stable because it's in coins, right? So somebody who doesn't have as much money as they say they do, someone who's not as far along in their career as they sort of make out to everyone, somebody who is very good at imitating the trappings but perhaps doesn't have much stability at their core. And with Let's Move Faster, we're in love, it's never too fast. This is somebody getting carried away with themselves with something, making an offer, but realising it's kind of a big boy offer, and then going, oh shit, I'm not cut out for this. I don't know whether this is the U row, the hidden row, or whether this is something else right now, but I think when we get along the bottom we'll know. So I do apologise if it's moving a little slow. Three of Swords in reverse with, sorry if I'm being too affectionate, I just can't stop touching you. There's a persistence with something from this same person that is a bit like badgering someone, or a bit like somebody who It makes me think of when you're just starting to have relationships, sort of in early adulthood or whenever you come of age, where you've kind of started to learn maybe what the other person's love language is, and they require affection from you, or they require gifts from you, or you realise that something is the way they communicate. I'm hearing music for some. So you kind of overdo it on that thing. It's like, oh, they want this from me, and then the person that's sort of more developmental of the two starts to really overdo it in providing or producing that thing. Just checking we're on camera. I had a... There's lots of illusions around this, guys, because I just saw a completely different aspect ratio to what it is, which made me think I'd stop recording altogether. This is really super weird. It won't surprise me if someone involved in this is a magic user. I'm just going to say that now, and I don't want to panic anybody. And I'm certainly not one of those readers, as previously discussed very recently, who sort of goes, oh, somebody's casting spells on you, someone's cursing you, they're sending evil eye. Because the vast majority of the time, people just can't be bothered, or they're not actually proficient enough with energy to send much your way. Just being real. But there's something here that's a bit like smoke and mirrorsy is what I want to say. And that goes with the word salad thing. Anyway, so this analogy of this person who's like hyper affectionate because they've just learnt that the other person needs affection or something like that is sort of indicating this Three of Swords heartbreak in reverse, in the sense of, I definitely won't disappoint you. I definitely won't break your heart. I definitely won't be terrible at this job under you. I definitely won't be a bad friend, etc., etc. Like, again, it's as you see fit. But it's like, it's so much in the camp of, I definitely won't disappoint you. I'm going to overdo it. But there's no momentum. There's no energy. Neither of these cards so far, is very energetic. There's no impetus. There's no get up and go from this person. It's almost like the energetic imprint of getting excited about the far, far future has made them put themselves forward and sort of go into something in a very like demonstrative, look at me, I'm doing all these big things, let's move faster kind of a way. But there's nothing to back it up. It's just going to tire this person out. They're just going to sort of, I'm thinking of like a toy that's like run out of battery, and it sort of does that thing where it slows down really suddenly. It is all creepy for a bit, and the affection sort of turns sour in the same way as like a voice toy slowing down in a horrible way. And then it's just like it falls over, or it just, you know, the light inside it just dies altogether, or whatever it is. It's like, let's do this. I've got an offer. Let's move faster. Look at all my stuff. Here, look at how much I'm touching you because you asked to be touched in that specific way. I'm amazing. I'll never break your heart. I'll never let you down. Oh, sorry, it's I'll never make you cry, isn't it? But then it's like, yeah. Oh, we're dead. Not literally. But it's very like, go. Oh, fuck. I made a mistake. So this may be someone who's moved into a relationship too fast. This may be somebody who's in a job that they actually can't hack, that's way over their head. This may be somebody who's moved to a place that is too big for them, too busy for them. It may be someone who's committed to too many things at once. It may be somebody who has promised to be somebody's best friend always after meeting them 5 minutes ago, and realises that they have 10 million other friends and that they actually can't see this person very often. Again, we'll get into it. But there's some energy of like, yeah, oh no. And then, I'm so fucking tired of being cheated on with the moon. There's also, underneath of this offer, there is a fear that without being so demonstrative, without offering that coin even as a page who doesn't technically own the coin, that there will be a betrayal if like other people are seen to be better, right? So it's inherent insecurity is what I'm reading. I think that this person is very go big or go home, because in the past they've been kind of more modest with their efforts, or more gradual, more structured, more, I want to say more normal, and they've been kind of just immediately blocked by somebody swooping in who was bigger and flashier and faster and just kind of took whatever they wanted, and it was suddenly not an option for them. And they're there gradually building up this thing that took a lot of work going. But where's everybody gone? So again, this range of situations, this could be someone who had their job swiped because they weren't overperforming. It could be somebody who has had a tricky history with friendships where if they don't kind of present as the best friend in the world for everybody ever, they've experienced a lot of betrayal or subterfuge, or just people kind of not being asked. It's somebody who's always had to do all the work. It's somebody who's, I want to say, a bit of a pick-me, but I'm not necessarily saying it in a demonising way, although being a pick-me is not good for any of us. But it's kind of a, if I don't go bigger, I won't get anything, is the underlying fear. And that is the pick-me consciousness, right? That's whether or not you agree with that sort of word and that rhetoric and all the sort of FDS stuff. It's this idea of, I have to go bigger instead of just settling into receptive energy, and instead of just being my natural self. I have to outperform everybody at what it is that I think is the ideal for the thing I'm aiming for. Because in the past, when I've not done that, and when I've not gone above and beyond, and when I've not changed myself, possibly even changed my appearance, changed my hobbies, emulated other people, again, echoes of the previous two readings. When that's not happened, somebody who is willing to do those things has come in and done the, insert gone girl, cool girl speech, and kind of swiped opportunity from them. And again, this doesn't have to be a feminine energy. It doesn't have to be a romantic or sexual context, but it's just that kind of a vibe. It's like, if I don't almost forget who I am by being everything you need, I won't get you. And I'm terrified of that. So therefore, they kind of overdo it when they're around you. They kind of say things too soon, or do things too soon, or they up the ante on the one thing that they're completely sure that you like, or they make offers sooner than is the natural progression for those things, like moving in together too soon, like applying for a promotion that they actually know they can't keep up with because of their other duties or their family life, etc., right? There's something else I wanted to say about that. What was that? Yeah, with this Three of Swords, like, reverse heartbreak thing, it's like, I'm not going to break your heart. They're kind of reassuring you. Maybe they are reassuring you. Maybe this is about you. But they're reassuring somebody anyway. And it's they want to be reassured. That's what I want to say. They are telling everybody around them that they won't disappoint because they are mortally terrified of being disappointed again. That's it. That's the energy. It wouldn't surprise me if this is part of what's been hidden from you, because this would be a very difficult thing for anybody to admit, no matter how self-aware they were, right? But also this could be a contributing factor to a situation. And again, my throat's closing up, so I think there's more to this. There's a situation that is bigger than this, that involves this as a baseline. So I was sort of allowed to tell you the baseline, and now when I'm trying to go forward in the reading, excuse me. Oh, it feels good to take my back power. Yeah, as I try and go forward in the reading, there were more throat chakra issues, right? So there's more. You can tell them that bit, don't tell them the rest, right? Judgment in reverse and fuck what they think, this feels right. This is a very direct translation of each other, archetypally speaking. I'm also intrigued what the card is. Right, okay, yeah. I want to say there's a humorlessness to this person. They may be funny, but now what do I mean in my personal definition of humorlessness? There is no trickster vibe, and what I mean by that is that there is no risk-taking with this person. Humorlessness to me is not necessarily that they can't crack a joke or they can't sort of say something that's funny, generationally or in context, or they can't pass on funny things. It's more like there's no element of spontaneity with this person because that would be too frightening. So the things that we get from the trickster, like bright colours, are in humorlessness sort of withdrawn to safe colours, you know, neutrals, blacks, things that are societally deemed more formal, more acceptable, more of a broadly okay marker of something. This may be somebody who's quite conservative in their self-expression to most people in their life, even if they have a streak of something that is a bit like, ooh, that's intriguing, right? And they're outwardly saying, fuck what they think of us, this feels right, in the sense of, fuck what anyone thinks of me, fuck judgment, I'm doing what I'm doing. But I think that's actually quite performative, because I get a vibe from this person that they are quite conventional, relatively, again, it's with the pick-me type stuff, in the things that they demonstrate as being strange, as being kooky, etc., they use particularly stereotypical demonstrations of those things. So, to take an example from alternative culture without slighting it when I'm in it, this is the person who, if they feel they need to appear edgy, they look like the exact Hot Topic definition of edgy, and they look like that only for a set amount of time in their life, and then they kind of return to normal, right? This is not a person who is long-term imaginative. This is not a person who is curious in an explorative way, so much as in an analytical way. They're far more interested in how other people are being unusual and taking on those things to become interesting, palatable, please don't betray me, please don't hurt me kind of energy, than they are in genuinely exploring their own circumstances in a way that is new, right? So it's not this kind of bombastic Aquarian, Uranian, let's try this, oh, I was reading this and I was listening to this and they're somehow intersecting this way and everything relates and it's all cool. It's very much like, I looked up this person who seems edgy and they did this, so I did this. And I don't want to be too harsh, but let's say that I've had problems with those kinds of people, right? And that tends to be a pattern, because where your security in guaranteeing, to the extent that any of us can guarantee, that you won't be hurt by life, relies on the experience and imagination of other people and their inventiveness and their way of combining elements, even if it's not in an aesthetic sense. This is just a large example. Where you're reliant on that, if you feel that's run out, or if you feel that someone sees you as the real self underneath that stuff, then you're even more at risk for losing what it is that you don't want to lose, right? So you try even harder, you put out even more of an offer that you can't actually give, etc., etc. This is someone who would bend over backwards for people that in the end would not treat them well. And I mean that in a professional sense, in a familial sense, in the sense of having friends that don't have their best interests at heart, but are fun in the way that they can provide an energy that this person might be missing in some way. I just feel like there's such an anxiety here. It's like a simultaneous imposter syndrome with like a loneliness, because if you don't show your real self, you can't be accepted for it, mixed with like a just constant fear that it won't be enough. I'm now thinking of brain, come on. Oh, what's he called? Scully's dad, but in Twin Peaks. Garland Briggs. I'm thinking of Garland Briggs saying about the fear that love is not enough, right? That is this person in whatever realm. It doesn't have to be love. But I think that they were okay with me telling you that they try a little hard, they won't okay with me telling you that this is because underneath it all they do feel that love is not enough, that they can never be enough, that just caring about people and just being kind actually won't get them anywhere. So in some ways, they feel they have to be disingenuous, or they have to be unkind, or they have to take influences of performative kindness from other sources and repackage it as themselves in this way that I really don't enjoy. It's a little bit American Psycho in places, but I don't think that this person is dangerous. I think that they're lost. I think that it's not even that they lack direction, it's that they won't look at who they actually are underneath the stuff that secures them a place in society enough to know where that person would be going, right? I suspect that their ambitions, their dreams are fed back to them by people that they trust more than they trust themselves. And that it's been that way probably since childhood, or at least for a very long time. And they're fucking tired of it, right? This is why this card's come up. I really want a commitment with the Five of Cups. What a combo, right? This is deep grief with the longing for acceptance at a level which is total, which is unconditional, which is long-term, right? And again, this can still be professional, because this can be, I've had trouble after trouble after trouble with never really fitting in anywhere, but what I really want is a steady life, is a steady job, is some kind of purpose or career which pushes me for 20 years without me questioning the industry that I'm in, or questioning myself or my peers. Something which really fires me up without me having to sort of think about where it really came from or who it was trying to please in the beginning. I'm going to say something big now, and I hope you don't hate me, particularly if you're new. For a very small number of you, this is you. It's reminding me of someone that I know and I really love, but who still hasn't quite decided on who they would be without other people. And it's that feeling. But if it is you, and again, I want to stress that that's a small number, this is a condition that is remedied, right? Through spiritual means, through practical means, through exploring the kind of politics of, you know, outside of the feminist context, the sort of pick me versus cool girl types, and how those things function, and why it is societally that we feel that formality and agreement is somehow safer and a better way forward and a more secure path than spontaneity, fun, pleasure, following one's own desires, I want to say. Following your actual bliss, right? Following the calling, to take the traditional meaning of judgment. It's almost like there's a rejection of the vocational here. Okay. That was a hard row. I'm sweating. I want to say I feel like I'm in the outback or something. I'm like absolutely sweltering, but it's the effort, guys, of trying to say this out loud to you when it just doesn't want to be said. High Priestess with, where's the friendship in this friends with benefits situation? Couple of meanings. If this is a literal friends with benefits thing and you recognised the initials of any person involved in that beginning bit, or you recognise the archetypes, or there is something running concurrently to this, which is a friends with benefits, someone involved in that, and if it's not you, know who it is A, hiding something, and B, saying, I'm sorry, I thought friends with benefits were actually friends. I thought they had each other's backs. I thought they looked after each other. They may even also be saying, I'm sorry, I thought friends with benefits had benefits for both parties, right? it's an insulting interpretation, but for some of you, I'm hearing it's there, right? And that may be from your end, that may be from someone else's end. It may be someone that's entirely outside of you, but you know who it's referring to. The sort of flip of this, if it's a more general situation, is that there is, again, this feeling of lack of connection, of where is the friendship here? Where are my allies? Where are the connections? Where is the support for me? And rather than reaching out for support, there is somebody here who is keeping themselves extra private, extra secret. They're perhaps gaining knowledge, or being very sort of tactical about how to approach people. There is sometimes a feeling with people who feel that genuine intimacy, i.e. being vulnerable and not performative, is a risk. Like, those kinds of people tend to be drawn to things like reading everything from hardcore social engineering books to just like how to win friends and influence people type stuff, because it's based on a deep fear that I don't know by myself how to send out the energy that would attract genuine connections. So I'm going to learn these handy tips, and that way I'm going to prevent what I fear happening, which is essentially, at the bottom line, rejection or heartbreak or missing out on opportunity because I don't sort of do well with others, right? That's not to slate that genre of literature, right? It's just to say that it is, at its core, usually fear-based. And while it has practical suggestions, from a spiritual perspective, which I'm obviously obliged to impart, it's based on the prerequisite that you won't do well without it, right? That you need to know this extra info that the people in the know because you're lagging behind in some way, yeah? Okay, 2 of coins in reverse with, if you want me to step up, you need to act like you expect good behaviour. That's an interesting one. So I do feel this is about a different person to this. So if you identified as this, that makes the job easy because this is who we're on about. And if this wasn't you, there's somebody else in the situation, right, other than you, and this is them. And this is sort of the harder to get out, or it was the harder to draw and stuff. So this is where the big secrets are at, although round here it gets to be a pickle as well. There's a sense of juggling. I don't know whether this person is juggling you and the top line person. I don't know whether you're juggling 2 people. I don't know whether it's a case of nobody's juggling anybody and there is a lot of practical things to manage at once, a lot of different facets of life to organise into neat little boxes so that you can get through a day at the moment. But there's something here about you, dear viewer, feeling like you don't expect good behaviour out of somebody involved in this. And yes, excuse me, I'm just sitting down. I'm trying not to make ogre noises when I shift about, but as you get older, it does tend to happen. I feel like, yes, I gave you a warning in the beginning of the reading of how difficult this communication was, but also you were kind of expecting a reading like this if you found it. And that goes for if you don't see it live and you're coming back to this years later or whatever. I think this message is actually to you, and I think it's legit, right? Whereas these are maybe expressions of things that are half-truths or that are only part of the picture or a bit sort of accusatory, I think this is a direct message from whoever this is about to you in a way that I'm confirming is legit, right? If you want whoever this is to step up for you, you need to act like you expect good behaviour from them. That means lowering defences. That means allowing them chances to speak or to act in beneficial ways. It means giving them chances if this is a professional setting or a kind of friendship that's got into a few difficult patches of late. There's something here where you're not giving somebody a chance. Something else I'm hearing is that if this is someone who was kind of pushing things forward at too fast a rate with you, giving them a shot as their true selves might not be something you want to do after this longer time of, let's try it, it hasn't worked. Let's try it, it hasn't worked. Right? And again, it sounds romantic, but it's not necessarily. It's just social, okay? You may be sick of this person trying too hard or kind of looking to other people around you for inspiration on how to be in a way that prevents you from ever really knowing who they are. And I think that if that's the case and you do want to step away from this, maybe this is pleading with you to be like, we never acted like you expected it from me anyway. And it is truly your decision, my dude, whether to cut off at that point. Yes, there is a chance that if you act like you're expecting the best, people will reflect back to you that affirmation of, I always expect the best from this person. There is also a chance that this entire thing was a lesson in self-concept for you as to what you expect from other humans, and sometimes getting exactly what you expect. So if this isn't just another person and this is like partly your experience as well, then the extent to which you feel slighted by somebody at the moment, or maybe you're about to, or maybe, there's something sort of ambiently there, is also the extent to which you expect that other people will do that shit to you. If you're with someone who's frustratingly fake, do you expect people to be frustratingly fake? When did that start? Why is it now just a blanket expectation? If you expect somebody to fail at their job, okay, why were they given that opportunity in the first place? Why is it that you expect that they will fail? How is it that that expectation perhaps gives them fewer chances? Etc., etc., extrapolate for friendships and so on. But there's something here about what you believe to be true that is mirrored in these cards about believing so hard that you are the imposter that you end up never really getting to know yourself, your needs, your purpose in the world. And it ends up being a very constructed kind of cathedral of acts about all the facets you show everybody else. It's sort of like a cage around the true self, right? And you're just peering through. And that may not be you, right? This line may not be you. But there's something in that around, okay, but why you... What I'm hearing in my head is, why are you like drawing in these Gundam people with like a tiny person operating this big machine of orchestrated personality, right? Why do you expect that that's the norm? You don't need a robot, you could go for a kaiju. Some of you will be like, what's she fucking on about? Essentially, if you expect falsehood, if you expect that people's innate fears will lead them to act in negative ways around you and be fake and be annoying and get to almost the point of true intimacy with you where you understand each other as people, and then suddenly switch into, oh, I'm going to do this thing I saw on this thing. That's also on you, in a spiritual sense. That's also something you're working through. I'm not saying it's something you do, because you may be far more secure in yourself, in your purpose, in your job, in whatever. But again, if you want other people not to juggle you, not to be juggling too many personalities, too many things, too many duties at once, you need to act like you expect them to be faithful to you, to be good to you, to be kind. For some, I'm hearing to support you when you're at your worst. For one of you, that may really hit home, right? Nothing like kicking somebody when they're down. But I'm letting my own anger get in there. The Two of Coins as well is almost the burden of that expectation. When you've got somebody who is not a trickster, or you've got an environment that is very serious, and yet you've got the juggling of the Harlequin, you drop the ball, right? So if there's stuff that's gone wrong for you in a very practical sense, in the kind of mercurial way that I've been experiencing building up to this reading, right? glitching and health issues and, oh, I don't have time to do this, and oh, look, I've spilled coffee on everything, that kind of shit. Stop juggling. Sit with it. Just for a sec. Just let yourself actually process what this is. 10 of Wands. Your enthusiasm is so contagious. Right, let me... Organise is exaggerated for effect. What? Sorry. I'm going to stand, and then I know I'm actually getting it on camera. There we go. Does this person look like they have contagious enthusiasm? Forget the Yggdrasil for a second, and just look at that. Somebody has got 10 wands growing out of their bloody head right now, or they're carrying ridiculous kinds of burdens and smiling like a skeleton, right? Skulls are always smiling. They always have a happy face for everybody. It's part of why we love Halloween. Unfortunately, they're also dead. I think somebody around you is saying that you have contagious enthusiasm, or a winning personality, or, oh, I just don't know how you do it. I'm hearing having it all for some of you, so if you're female, that may resonate as well. She has it all, she does it all, she manages everything. And it's like everybody's sort of applauding and smiling back, but your smile is very much like the smile of a skull. It's not actually any facial muscles expressing how you're feeling. There may be a sense of overburden to the extreme. Again, juggling too many things, right? And if this isn't you, this is certainly someone who doesn't want you to know that the smile that they've given you is a very sort of forced Clockwork Orange type of thing, where it's like, yes, I'm having it all, I'm managing it all. Look at me being, physically perfect with a perfect job and a perfect partnership and a perfect friendships and a perfect family life and the perfect amount of fucking fun. It makes me think of Empire Records, when Liv Tyler is on speed and has the complete breakdown in front of, I forget the actress's name, but she's very good in that. And they're just throwing sweets at each other, going, with your perfect life and your perfect boyfriend. And it's just like, the cost of being perfect is Liv Tyler's character running around literally screaming, red in the face, in the middle of a work setting, with all of her colleagues kind of looking on, going, what the fuck's gone on with the girls? There is, it mirrors this actually, but it's not the same route, right? So there's a person here who is tired of being betrayed by others, and so has to feel secretly wild, who has to cultivate illusion, who has to be sort of in the energy of subterfuge, in the energy of constructing a perfect self. And there is another person who is just plain taken on too much, does too much, helps everybody out, is always smiling, is always all right, and who may, as a result of that, have an incredibly private life, as in they go home and they pretty much pass out, or they just spend time. It's almost like I'm getting the vision of like a teenager locking the bedroom door, like, we're done with the outside world because all I've done all day is smile and take care of everyone. And I just need to pass out, or I just need to do something incredibly self-indulgent. So the sort of contrast is, we've got one person who is holographically doing well, and one person who is genuinely doing well, but who is so tired that their inner self is a kind of dream or holographic self. It's like one person is like not keeping up and projecting outwards that they totally are. And another person is absolutely keeping up, but in order to keep that going, they have to concentrate inwards and keep secret dreams and keep secret, what do I want to say? it's like the energy of Crush Imagines or something, you know, on like Wattpad and shit. But it's like replaying yourself scenes of what could happen if things just let up, which I think is quite sad. I think both of these modes are sad in different ways, because this one kind of can't stop on the treadmill and therefore is dreaming of a life that they may have had if they'd not been so goddamn proficient. And this one is wishing so much to almost be this one. And again, go back to my jealousy piles in QS4, right? That there is like a complete fabrication of self that leads to nothing in the middle, no core. Not that it's like soulless or void or sociopathic or anything, but just no self-knowledge in the centre of it. And that's not... It wouldn't surprise me if this top person has been hurt over and over again, in whatever context. Because we can sense empty. We can sense bullshit, right? People have very good meters for that. You can see if someone has shark eyes, whether or not they're smiling from a hotel somewhere on the whatever feed. I don't know, I don't do that shit. And then you've got somebody here who is in this sort of very systematic 10th house way, kind of climbed the mountain of success and achieved all these incredible things and is very loved by a lot of people and is carrying the burdens of a lot of different stuff. And they're smiling at everyone and everyone's smiling back, but they can't receive any of that love back because they just need to go home and conk out and just dream of something else. And that's what was fucking secret, is that it's not so different. I don't think this is like a secret betrayal. I don't even think if there is a triangle or something that that's the main reason why I wasn't meant to get this across. I think what it is that one is a mirror of the other. Whether or not they're complementary mirrors is kind of up to you, and I guess we'll get more, but it's the same. It's not the same state of distress, but it's the same level of distress in very different ways. And I think one may aggravate the other if these people are in contact, in relationship, even in the same team business-wise, or if they've been friends on and off, or if they're family members. It's like, it makes me think of nodal oppositions in synastry, where one person's perfection is exactly the other one's challenge, and vice versa. So there's this incredible draw all the time, because you see the other person, you think, that's where I need to be at a deep, deep level. That's my purpose, to turn out like them. But then your level of comfort and experience and comfortability and what you're good at already is exactly the opposite. And they see your sort of core energy and they think, that's where I need to be. But of course, they're most in their comfort zone when they're doing the exact opposite thing. And it's that, but with people. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Let me know in the comments if it does, because I feel like this was a lot of work to just rant something that doesn't quite come across right. But it's, and that's not to say that nodal synastry is bad, by the way. I have almost exact nodal synastry with a twin flame figure, and it works very well when it works. But it is that energy of like the most attraction you can have alongside the greatest challenge to your ego that is possible. Because it's almost like, even by acknowledging the existence of the other person and what their successes versus their failures are, you're seeing a reflection of yourself, but inverse. It's very weird. Four of Coins, and the vulture, I think, is key. What we need to address here is what's been put on a pedestal and why. By both of these people, right? Four of Coins, I won't sing the Magic Penny song again, but if you need to look it up, then do. Because it's my instant interpretation for this thing. Beliefs about the distribution of love, beliefs about the distribution of money, beliefs about whether giving away one's resources leads to reciprocity or in fact to poverty. I think it's pretty clear whether it's on a financial or an emotional level how that relates to all this, right? Because you've certainly got someone here that is overgiving because of a feeling of lack and fear, and then you've got someone here that gives very freely but doesn't appear to receive. With the vulture as well, I think if you are this person or if you know this person at the bottom row, care needs to be taken with perceiving other people, particularly this top person, when they're in illusion, as vultures, right? As profiteering off a certain level of success, managing multiple things, carrying the 10 wands at once, perhaps even carrying things without being able to see where they're going, perhaps always wearing a smile, right? There's the risk of being sort of in the illusion of overabundance when you're actually quite tired or you actually need something for you, and it's okay to ask for it, is that if you have a smile for everyone and it's actually this skull smile, you tend to draw in people who think that your resources are unlimited, right? You do tend to attract vultures because people see it coming a mile off, that like, not only have you bossed this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing, but you're also probably ready for more. There may even, for some of you, be a complete energy discrepancy between these two people, you know? The person at the top, I'm seeing things like spoon theory management, whether that's of disability, of eating disorders, of mental differences. You know, there's like a limited energy in the day and they kind of feel they have to spend it on being something that other people need so that they're not rejected for not keeping up in some fashion, which as a disabled person, fuck me, I feel you on that, because society's not set up for us, right? It's set up for the unlimited energy and the assumption that everyone has that. And then meanwhile, this person is almost overflowing with energy in a way that like may lead to resentment from one side to the other, but also may be read as, well, you've got plenty to spare, I'm going to take yours. And I'm not talking about this person necessarily, I'm talking about this sort of vulture archetype. But then you need to sort of, I keep saying you as if this is you, but it might not be for all of you, but this person needs to make sure that in having people take advantage of them, they don't presume that everyone in the world is out to. In having a smile for everyone and sometimes getting a slap in return, they don't presume that everyone in the world is waiting to give that smile a slap. Because sometimes part of the exhaustion when you are doing all these things well is that there's like no reward for it and you sort of expect that all you're gonna get is shit. I'm doing a thing with my face and my arms and you can't see it. Both of these people are exasperated, but in completely different ways and for completely different reasons. And it's fucking sad, my dude, because it's so avoidable. If the top person just actually stops for a minute being performative and gets to know what they want and focuses on that and genuinely fuck everyone else and maybe inject a bit of humour and spontaneity and maybe have people come in, like if you know them, and just hold their hand and be like, hey, let's do this fun thing because it's fun or because it's random, I think they'd be fine. I think they'd fully recover. And I think they wouldn't need to be in an energy of subterfuge and copycatting and being disingenuous and being afraid of intimacy in different ways, right? And then this person down here, if they would just say, I set my limit of giving for every day, and I also receive, but I receive communally as well. I don't just like go back into my cave and dream of a better life. I actually have meaningful friendships, meaningful connections. I expect people to step up back to me to the extent that I step to them, etc. This person will be fulfilled because they'd have that. Instead of the Four of Pentacles, they'd step into the Six of Pentacles energy of true reciprocity, right? Give and take. It doesn't feel like the shadow of that card, which is like charity to the extent of poverty. What we need to address here is what's been put on a pedestal and why. Why is it that this person feels that they have to do this full day of smiling and high performing and keep their inner life, their inner dreams secret? Why is it that the person up top feels that other people are on that pedestal in the way that they're operating, and that only emulating other people is the way to get what they want in whatever realm? These are the questions that the reading is asking, right? This isn't, if it is a relationship situation, whether it's two or a triangle, this isn't actually about who's putting who on a pedestal in that way. This is about, in everybody's individual lives, what are they putting on a pedestal? Because what do they fear? What do they lack? What do they feel they need to do in order to secure certain things? As is always true with connections, if everybody in this reading reflected on themselves, their social problems would click into place, would start to heal, would start to flourish, even if that means running into completely new people. But it's that unwillingness to look at self, and whether you're in a very sort of type A high performing energy at this end, or whether you're in a I must be the very best and better than all the others and not like the other girls energy up here. Excuse me, hiccups confirmation. Whichever it is, it's like ego, projection. It's pushing stuff out into the world in the belief that receptivity is not inherently there. That believing in positive entitlement to something doesn't get, right? I want doesn't get, it's coming into my head. So these people may both have had parents that sort of did that I want doesn't get thing, but in different ways, right? I feel like this person's parents may have been like, you know, if you do X, Y, Z, you'll never catch a man type energy, whether they're male, female, whatever. And this person down here, it's very much like, how dare you ask for something without working twice as hard as you need to for it first? Down here, there's also the energy of, I can't parent you right now, I'm too busy with myself. If you try hard enough, I'll see you. And I'm sorry if that's triggering. I will put a trigger warning for this entire reading, to be honest. But it's very much like, do more, be better, and reciprocity will happen. And it never has, because actually reciprocity needs space to come in. In just a basic example of a relationship, if you want a true connection, you have to have free time. You have to have space for another person's idiosyncrasies to enter in and interact with your own. You have to have an environment that's conducive to that stuff. And I use that example because I feel like, in a way, both of these people are lonely. Five of Wands with, you're so thoughtful, it warms me to my core. On that loneliness. Bottom person, whether it be you or someone else, had a falling out with someone they actually want the reciprocity from. Someone thoughtful, someone warming, someone considerate, someone competent if it's a professional setting, somebody who makes their day brighter in whatever area that this entire reading relates to. And it was because of that thoughtfulness, because of energy coming in, that they started a war. If you're a person that this person was fighting with, and this is some kind of triangle, whether it's friendship or otherwise, know that they pushed you away because they've never had the true energy of receptivity. In the same way that the top person messaging has never had intimacy in a non-sexual sense, in a sense of, I show my complete, true, vulnerable self with you and expect that you'll love me, and you show your complete, true, vulnerable self with me and expect the same. The bottom person, I think, has been vulnerable with people and maybe has, been intimate to some extent with other people, certainly more than this top person. But I don't think they've ever received what it is they're putting out. I don't think they've ever gained as much as they've given. And I want to say, particularly in childhood. I think the common thread of all of this, and my throat's tensing up again, so I know I'm onto something. The common undercurrent is two people, both of whom are hiding things from the rest of the world, and maybe specifically from you, who believe that love is conditional, or believe that they have to perform a certain way in order to receive anything positive in their lives, if this is really not a love reading. But I think for most of you it is. Or it's a reading about someone you love. It could be a kid. Could be a grandparent, who knows? I feel like you have a more direct relationship to the bottom person because they were the one that it was sort of hardest to get communication from. And I think that's because they're going to do an augur again. Their outward way of doing things, their high performance persona, is very under control. This top energy gives me a vibe of, I'm going to take these steps to become this person because that's what everybody wants, yes. But it's also very phase related. I almost want to say that if you look back through this person's career or aesthetic or circles of friends or even where they've lived, it will be very like this thing, then this thing, then this thing, then this thing, in a way that indicates that they've never really found their niche or what they actually want to be or what they do best or whatever. Whereas with this person down here, it's more like, I am where I need to be, but if I'm not in control, I'm really panicking. If this is you, my control and surrender reading from, I think it was like the first reading I did for the channel, so it's pretty badly produced, guys. But that may be relevant in some way, right? If you can hack it. I sort of say that I think you're closer to this person in part because I think you have an influence over them in that either this is you or this is someone who is so close to you that what I'm about to say is something you can intervene with, and that's why they were keeping stuff from us both, right? And that's that in this Five of Wands thing, whatever it is, this battle, this intentional argument with the energy of reciprocity, because it's like, well, I haven't experienced this. It's panicking me. Are you a vulture? What do you want? I think this person needs a bit of help or needs a bit of a push to, I want to say, accept love or accept opportunity. Or it's weird because it's the top person who believes that those things won't come to them if they don't act a certain way, but it's the bottom person who actively resists them when they come. I think this person's quite self-sabotaging. They may even joke about it or like have a bit of a thing about it with friends, family who know that they do it, and they're like, why do you always say that about me or some shit, like because I think in their head you can't be too much of a self-saboteur if your life's going really well, because what have you really sabotaged? But the answer is happiness. Neither of these people are happy. And the bottom one, I'm now hearing Radiohead. You do it to yourself, just you, and that's why it really hurts. Opportunity has come in for the bottom person. I think maybe it hasn't for the top person in quite the same way, because they're still on the journey of believing that they have to perform in a certain fashion before it even shows up. And if you don't know yourself, you can't know what you want for it to show up in your life. So in whatever area, I don't think it's turned up. I think they've had things that have fired them up, certainly, nobody in this world is without passion or without a dream or whatever. But I think those dreams may be quite sort of fly by night, really, long term, because they've still got to be alone with themselves to figure out, no, what do you really want under all the, if I act like this, I will receive love and opportunity. What do you want? Who are you? Whereas the bottom person, I think they fucking know who they are. I think they actually know what they want. I think they dream about it in their private moments when they're not juggling 50 other things and smiling at everyone sweetly. But I think when that thing comes, particularly in the form of social connections, they hiss and close the blinds. I'm seeing somebody like in full vampire mode where the sun's beaming in and they're just like, no sun for me. Fuck you for trying. I said no sun. I say when the sun rises. Look at me, I'm doing fabulously. I can tell you when it's dusk. I'm sorry if this is you and I'm just like reading you to filth, but you know, elements of both of these are me, so don't worry, it's all in good faith, and we're all vulnerable, my dude. Yeah, I think if you can intervene with this bottom person, maybe that's why you had to know all of this, because it's kind of your job. And I also think that the reason, whether you identify as being one of these or the other, or you just know them both and you're kind of in a position to have an influence on either, the reason it's come up is that these two people definitely interact with each other, right? I don't know whether they're in a relationship. I don't know whether they just know each other peripherally, or they're sworn enemies, or, you know, one of them's a boss, the other's an employee or something. Please let me know in the comments if it's appropriate to, because I would bloody love to know. But certainly they know each other as much as you know them if it isn't you, right? Should we get Jerry's final thought? Oh, we haven't done the wasp factory. Right, wasps are an interesting thing for me at the minute. I mean, yes, this was in my room anyway, so we're going to do Bibliomancy because it's fun. But those of you who see my enemy reading know that wasps have been a sort of line of defense for me of late against the evil eye, or whatever you believe is like the equivalent of that if you're not really up for terms like that. But wasps are also like a sort of strange symbol of empowerment, right? In the Bible, they were sort of warriors on behalf of God. And actually, when I used them in recent work, I didn't know that, but that corresponded to what and who I'd been working with when I kind of asked for something. And then obviously in literature, you've got things like the girl with the dragon tattoo corresponding with wasp as a symbol, and wasp as it relates to hackers and sort of getting into things secretly with a sting in the tail, right? It's very much the sort of initial don't let her know the reading kind of energy that we had. And certainly the subterfuge energy that I felt bits of in here, where this person can be so afraid sometimes of how things will progress that they do sting, right? They do, or even in some ways, sometimes in a calculated way, they can be let into a room in order to sting the person. That may even be part of their job, who knows? But there's this sense of like letting them free as an agent of something else because they're good at stinging, because actually they're quite fearful. Because wasps and bees sting when they're afraid, right? Or when they're threatened, or it's an act of defense, I want to say. I mean, arguably you can say wasps are just bastards. And they are. And I don't like them much, although I know they're necessary. But also there's a lot of interesting stuff to that identity, to that imagery, to even things like the Wasp Woman, right? And the sort of relationship of the story of the Wasp Woman in film to beauty culture, and having a sting in the tail of the dark feminine, and maybe even having work done in order to be, again, on the same level as other people, so that you still have a sting in the tail if things come for you, if life comes for you. All of that, I think, is relevant, right? It's a great book. It's not for everyone. There is animal cruelty in it as well, which is quite, I I mean, it's framed in an unusual way, but for some it will be very distressing. But I want to recommend it, and I want to also say look into Wasp if you're interested in this top person. I don't know whether Jordana Van's done Wasp yet, but her animal videos are, I think, the best out there. Anyway, right, so we've opened it to 96, and that might be a relevant year for some of you. And I'm going to say, Jamie was saying, so Jamie may be a relevant name, I was half listening. He was not going to get a bike because he wouldn't be able to reach the pedals. But I wouldn't have said anything even if I could have, because nobody expects people to tell the truth to women. And besides, that's what friends are for, as they say. The girl, when I could see her properly, was a rough-looking 20 and had as many coats of paint over her eyes as a roller gets on its doors. She smoked a horrible French cigarette. So any of that may be relevant. There's a thing there about the feet not reaching the pedals of a bike that you're riding, which again speaks to senses of inadequacy, as does misogynistic comments about women with layers of makeup on and stuff like that, right? French cigarettes may fit somehow in all of this, you do you, but I feel like that was just speaking to the insecurity of the situation, and maybe to the sort of undercurrent of misogyny and hate in the way that that message was expressed. I think there might be someone in the situation who is a misogynist, and that applies if you're a woman, this person is a woman, and this person is a woman, because internalized misogyny is a thing. And quite often in the sort of top mode of societal competitive energy based on fear, what we're operating from is a reaction to patriarchal privileges as expressed still in the workplace relating to women's appearance, the way that they speak, the way that they move. I can't remember that wonderful Margaret Atwood quote about women essentially just kind of viewing themselves doing everything, because in order to get anywhere they have to be their own voyeur. And there's another John Berger quote that is very similar in the art book Ways of Seeing, about a woman being not the thing that looks, but the thing to be looked at. And that's not him being a misogynist, that's him commenting on the female nude in art and how women have their kind of own person viewing themselves. And there's all that sort of layers of separation, which again speaks to the digital, which speaks to Wasp energy, right? It's it would not surprise me if that sort of internalized misogyny stuff is in this somehow. We're going to do another Bibliomancy, if I can get the word out. 192 or 1992 or 1993 might be relevant. My feet were sore and my legs ached slightly as I walked along the line of hard sand on the beach. A slight wind had come up off the sea, and I was glad of it, because the clouds had all gone and the sun, though sinking gradually, was still powerful. I came to a river I'd already crossed once in the hills, and crossed it again near the sea, going up into the dunes away to where I knew there was a wire bridge. Sheep scattered in front of me, some shorn, some still shaggy, bouncing away with their fractured sounding bars, then stopping once they thought they were safe and dipping their heads or kneeling to resume cropping the flower-scattered grass. So it's very idyllic, right? Especially for a book that's not. There may also be something to do with being on a beach, with legs and feet being sore at the moment with either of these people, with being in a place where sheep are, or with, again, sheep energy, wolf in sheep's clothing, being a sheep, all of those kinds of interrelated things. And then bouncing away with their fractured sounding bars has a meaning that I can only describe as euphemistic and won't go into further, which again may apply for some of you, right? To one or more of these people. Let's get Jerry's final thought. I mean, really, I'd sum up as like, both of these people I feel sad for. Both of them, I suspect, are lovely. And both of them are sort of operating in an entirely unbeneficial way at the moment. Am I getting a third? Ooh, okay. Right, so this one relates to the top person, this row. This relates to this bottom row person, and this relates to you. And if you are top or bottom row, it's just extra info, right? So the Hanged Man for the top person. Realise that they are in a state of suspension, that they are meditating on who they want to become. In this deck, it's Sleeping Beauty, right? this person may be living life in an experimental way of trying to be everybody else until something brings them to literal and spiritual awakening. And I think that, and again, they've got sore feet, right? And that's just what we had in the book. Some of you, there may be a dancer or an ex-dancer, or there's something to do with ballet with that. Anyway, or sort of perfectionist culture around ballerinas and eating culture and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, this person is in suspension. But the thing about the Hanged Man is that, as well as kind of being ready to wake up and being in this neither state, traditionally he's a very sacred figure. He's a very sacrificial, holy figure. And I think that may be like, eventually, I think that when this person figures themselves out, they may have this like Odin-y kind of, or Jesus-y if you're more recent, kind of quality of compassion for everybody around them because of the time that they've spent hanging there, right? Their efficacy in their eventual purpose may be greatly enhanced by the period of stuckness that they seem to be midway through now, right? Or at least very deep in. If I'm saying midway and it's you, please don't panic. I'm just saying they're embroiled in something. And whenever they get out of that, and I'm hearing wear their crown of thorns. That may be a lyrical thing for some of you, I don't know. But whenever they come out of that, they're going to be some kind of example to other people as a result of being stuck in that for that long. What this doesn't mean is that you have to be patient with their energy if it's something that's fucked you over or exhausted you or rubbed up against you if you're this bottom person, or if in some way their kind of pick-me-ness is a threat to your job or your relationship or your friendships or anything like that. I'm not saying free pass this person. I'm saying that this person is on a great spiritual journey and will be important when they complete that journey, if they choose to complete it, if they choose to see themselves as they truly are. And it's a big if, right? There's also a little bit of sort of dependency in the Sleeping Beauty analogy, isn't there? Because without the prince to come in and wake her up, what happens to her? She stays asleep. You may or may not be this person's prince, and if you are, I think you will know. But if you're not, there's a sense with which like you don't wait around for this person to get over it, because some people never come out of the ego. And even if the ego is a fearful place and not like when I say ego, people think of this like narcissistic, domineering personality thing, and it's not always that. It can sometimes be extremely vulnerable and sad and beautiful and multifaceted, but it's still ego, and people can still choose to come out of it or not. And I think this person, it's unclear yet as to whether they will make the choice to change. If you're someone who feels that it's in your kind of fate or destiny or whatever, to be the person that sparks their awakening by being maybe complimentary to them or something like that, then great, you do you, right? There's lots of red in this card. I see a lot of energy for that. I see it being beneficial. But if you're coming here because like, or you realise you're here because this person's just tired you out now, and they're trying too hard, and then kind of being defensive and almost not trying hard enough is too much of a strain on you, I want to say it's not your job to save them from where they've got themselves. For the bottom person, Queen of Wands, we've got Pele, we've got the volcano. If you are this person, try to resist the temptation to be explosive about your situation in the realisation that you're not receiving enough. But also, this particular Queen of Wands is an interesting one for reciprocal energy, because just as the volcano erupts and destroys everything, so it fertilises the land to be one of the most beautiful places on earth, and to be, one of the most diverse, I can't think of the word, but they're diverse places for different amounts of life, right? Where you have volcanic areas recovering, you have extreme biological variation and therefore beauty. It's a biodiversity word, but I can't think of what the name is. Anyway, so with this Pele thing, if this is not you, if this is someone around you, I want to say be patient with the fact that they may have sort of outbursts as they come to the realization that they can receive, or even if you are this Five of Wands that they've fallen out with and they've been volcanic at you and it's come out of nowhere and they've kind of burnt you down or burnt the relationship down or the job or whatever, understand that that is a process for this person of fertilizing the land for what comes after. They go, I can receive as good as I give, or I can experience the pleasure that I give to other people, or I can have as many things taken care of for me as I take care of for other people, or I can be rewarded with a winning smile instead of just wearing my skull smile all day. And not everyone has to be a vulture, and not everyone has to be coming at me when they're offering me affection that I'm not used to because of my background, right? There is a very reciprocal energy in Queen of Wands in this incarnation. And in general, as an archetype, the Queen of Wands is about pleasure, happiness, indulgence, realizing one's own sensuality and power. Being maybe indulgent in the arts, in fun, in frivolousness, in pleasurable things, in active pursuits that would do the same thing for this person as the passive dreamlike state that they enter into when they get home and they're fucking exhausted. This is a promise, if this is you, that all of that is coming in for you, but also a little thing of like, there are explosive times in coming to terms with why it wasn't always this way. And you might want to re-watch sections of the reading just to take in stuff and think on it and sort of, you know, journal if you're a journaling person, or speak to someone about stuff if that's more you, about why it is that reciprocity has been a problem for you. With the Five of Coins, sort of aimed at you, whoever you are, dear viewer, and whether you are related to these people directly or not, the little match girl is an interesting one because she's ostensibly left out in the cold to die. But each time she lights a match, there's this beautiful vision. And I don't want to spoil the rest of the story or go into why it ends how it ends. Excuse me, scattering. But that's not the bit that I'm being pulled to focus on, right? The sort of parable aspect of it. I think instead it's this world that she's lost in when she lights the match and she sees the potential of this stuff. And with it being a Five of Coins as well, it's this very Smithwaite imagery in the background of the church that one has been excommunicated from, or the warm building one cannot get into in the snow. So there's a sense of being outside of a situation which is very warm, very loving. If these two are in relationship, you might be stood on the outside watching them, feeling very cold, right? Asking yourself why you needed to know all of this when you're not allowed in. If instead you are one of these people, and this pertains to you, this speaks to the sort of loneliness that I've talked about in both camps, stemming from the undercurrent of fear about the way that the world works, in both cases, in different ways. But the thing I'm drawn to is that the match girl with the matches kind of brings her own warmth. She lights up the match, she sees the visions, she has her own holographic version of how things could be. And the underlying thing of that, I think, is potential. There is a potential for this person to become the sacred hanged man figure. There is a potential for this person to become the Queen of Wands in all of her fertile, glorious, sensual power. There is potential, if you're on the outside of this situation, for you to benefit from both of these people sort of going into the light of who it is that they are. Or there is a potential from feeling cold, from observing it from the outside, from understanding in your own kind of sacred contract with both of these people being invited into your realm of experience, why it is you had to meet two individuals who operate in such a way, what it is that you can learn from them by watching, what it is about your own dreams that can be so vividly projected and made holographically dense and magically potent by knowing all of this that you weren't meant to know, that happened behind the window, right? That tried to happen behind closed doors until eventually I got pissy enough with my throat earlier to go into vision and be like, right, are we doing this? So I want you to sort of concentrate not on how cold you may feel, and again with the hurt feet. Notice this person, you know, the bottom row person is the only person with feet that are intact. I think that's pretty interesting. There may be further symbolism around that for you. It may relate to Piscean stuff. It may relate to what we talked about here. But it's like, it's not about how cold you are. It's not about how cold your feet are. It's not about what's even going on inside. It's about how that relates to you, your vision, your next step, how warm you feel on the inside as a result of the flame that you see, right? And even if you think that that flame is a dying light, as is, you know, the tragedy of this particular tale, I think it's important to note that on a spiritual channel and where I'm communicating more than just an emotional reality, that match is the holographic universe type stuff. That match is creating warmth from a tiny place to a huge one. It's also representative of a spirit of compassion, right? If I'm remembering rightly, she gets the matches from someone else. So how can you light a tiny spark of understanding with everybody involved in this, and therefore see the warmth, the light of the whole situation increase as a result of your careful observation and offering of warmth? Your forgiveness, what I want to say for some of you, particularly because we've got a Hawaiian figure, so Ho'oponopono may be relevant, and I'm sure I've mispronounced that. I'm sorry, Hawaiian gang. I think that's it. I think that's Jerry's final thought. I think that if this isn't you, be compassionate. If this is you, be compassionate. And take what I said about these guys. And the reason that this was hidden, let's not forget, is a kind of shame. And the antidote for shame is to tell somebody that there's nothing to be ashamed of and to be loving with them. And if you're sort of rolling your eyes because this is a professional reading and these are like work rivals or something, the same applies, right? Kindness, understanding. Hey, if you fucked up just there, it's okay. I'm here for you, bro. Hey, if you're carrying a bit much, or if that smile's not altogether real today, just know I've got your back. And you never know what could happen as a result. Where a blockage in communication prohibits a reading for as long as it needs to, and with whatever techniques it needs to do, and I'm noticing my body feels completely different, it indicates that communication is the resolution to whatever this problem is, right? Clear communication. And if these people are outside of you, and if they are mixed up in this stuff, perhaps the person who needs to communicate most clearly, most articulately, and most compassionately is now you. If this was useful to you, please, for the love of God, like, subscribe, ding the dong, share with friends. Thank you kindly. I'm a tiny channel. I do this full time. I mostly do in-person stuff. I'd like to be more mobile and switch to mostly online stuff. And in order for that to happen, I need to get bigger. So if you've stuck this out this far, I think that's because you've had utility in it. And I think that if you found utility in it, then an exchange of reciprocal energy in line with the reading would be grand, even if that's just a thumbs up, right? Please check out elsewhere on my channel if you want a specific reading about any particular subject. You can pretty much search them out in any of the playlists. We also have A to Z Lucky Dips with not just tarot but all kinds of divination techniques, so do check those out as well. If you're seeing this as it uploads, although it may upload late, I am aiming for a video a day throughout October. So since I am a YouTuberer, it may be good to subscribe now and catch the remaining 20 or so, however many there are when I get to uploading this. I'm sort of dreading editing it, but I think actually the message has come out that needed to, so fingers crossed. And yeah, that's enough rambling and babbling from me. If you want to tell me in the comments how it hit, what you've learnt from it, what you think it relates to the extent that you're comfortable, I would love to know. And I hope that you have a really beautiful day.